cross the borders with smugglers illegally, and it took us about 8 days from the northwestern city near the border in Iran to getting to Ankara, passing, rivers in the snow, in ices, and via mountains, and the smugglers were so, violent.
Kouhyar Goodarzi is a human rights activist and one of Iran's best-known bloggers. Imprisoned 6 times, he decided to leave after a 9-month stretch last year, which included several weeks of solitary confinement and torture. We met in Adana in southern Turkey. He's been a refugee since the winter and is waiting for his request for asylum, lodged with the UN High Commission for Refugees, to be accepted.
I'm trying to make the places I am, the places I want to be. Prison, inside, outside, everywhere. When I was in prison, I was writing on all my cell's walls this poetry from Pablo Neruda. Take a breath away from me, if you wish. Take the air away, but do not take from me your laughter.
Following this time in jail, he was released on bail, but still faces up to 5 years imprisonment in Iran for propaganda against the system and endangering national security. Hussein took the first pictures of his friend Kouhyar upon his arrival in Ankara. A former photographer for the national Iranian news agency, Fars, Hussein fled 4 years ago after being accused of selling photographs of post-electoral events in 2009 to foreign media.
The government punish me or maybe kill me because the government say you are a spy, Mossad is spy, CIA is spy, because you send a picture, for another agency. Sometimes I will have a message again. You can come back. Only, for example, 1 week you go to jail, and after you interview in TV, you have a good life and you can enjoy to your life, and I can't do it.
He was a refugee once in the United States, but he could not find work. Having returned to Turkey, he hopes to be given asylum in Europe. Turkey only provides temporary refugee status to non-European asylum seekers, relying on the UNHCR to organize their transit to a third country. We went to Eskişehir, some 200 kilometers west of Ankara, where we met Saeed, a student also arrested for participating in the protest movements against the Iranian regime. He took us to Hamid Mafi, whose cause Kouhyar had championed in Iran. Hamid was a reporter for reformist media, was arrested several times, endured many interrogations and was convicted twice. Choosing exile rather than prison, he's been in Turkey for over a year, waiting for his asylum request for Germany to be granted. The uncertainty is difficult, and he doesn't have any hope the situation in Iran will change after the next election.
Civil society, social networks no longer exist. They were crushed by repression. What remains of civil society exists only in a clandestine manner. I do not think change will occur in the next elections. When Rafsanjani's candidacy was rejected, there were no protests. So it would surprise me if there are any protests following the election, regardless of how the result is arrived at.
This pessimistic feeling is shared by the younger Iranians we met in Eskişehir. Life is not always easy here for refugees who do not have the right to work, but they say they have no choice. Navid, another rights blogger and activist, left Iran 2 years ago after 3 months in prison. He was then 18.
5 months ago, they have killed a blogger. Yes, they have killed a blogger in prison. I was hoping reformist candidates open politics atmosphere, and maybe we could come back to our country. But But now I don't think so.
Back to Adana in southern Turkey. We have an appointment with Sagi, a feminist activist who arrived in Turkey with her family a few months ago. Laws passed in the Iranian parliament in recent years have worsened the position of women, she said.
There are set quotas for the number of women in universities. The legal number of working hours for women were reduced. As a result, nobody wanted to give jobs to women anymore. So they were forced to stay at home. And I want to mention the legal emphasis on encouraging polygamy in Iran. Everything we had in the last 8 years, and especially in the last 4 years, was anti-women.
Despite being arrested several times and losing her job, Sagid still took part in a mission to help victims of the earthquake that struck northwestern Iran last year. The presence of volunteers in the region was considered a crime against national security. Many were arrested and jailed. Sagi managed to escape that fate, but she and her husband have left everything behind.
After arriving here, I wrote a poem that begins like this. There was an earthquake, and I was a bird, but the wind blew away my nest.
Kouhyar intends to rebuild his nest in the United States after his asylum application has been accepted. Expelled from university in Tehran, where he was studying aeronautics, he wants to go back to college and, while pursuing his professional activities, keep up his activism. A necessary background to enable a successful return to Iran.
After, getting an admission for asylum, I'm going to educate. And during that, I'm going to be active. After finishing, I think now I want, after that, to go back to Iran, to be in a society that I am working on. I will be more useful there in that time.
Once he has had more education and experience, he says he will be ready to pay the price of returning to his native land.
Maybe we should get back to reality, the reality of today. Maybe we've been involved in a dream too much. It may be a beautiful dream or goal, but it's not real. The dream is on the internet, in the virtual world. For practical purposes, we need to be more realistic, to do things, not talk or think. Also, it's important to know that the more people there are doing things, which have a cost, the less the individual price. And as a result, there will be more people who are prepared to pay the price for what they are doing.